Hey everyone, it's Monday, April 13th. We survived another week, I guess. We're doing a session today with a subject that we've all wanted to hear about, which is Alaska. I have a very special guest with me from a DMO from Visit Anchorage. I'd like to welcome Ruth to our channel. Hi,
Hi,
Ruth.
everybody.
So we're going. It's gonna be it's gonna take a little while. Hi, Amanda. Yeah, we're getting a few people that are coming in. I
Yay.
know a lot of people have been waiting to hear what's new, what can happen in Alaska. Um, we've talked for a few minutes before the session, and I'm sure there's tons of information that you can share with our agents here. So if you could just introduce Visit Anchorage and what it is that you guys do on a regular year.
Well, hello, everybody. My name is Ruth, Rosewarne Kimerer. I am a tourism development sales manager here at Visit Anchorage. I am actually located in Anchorage, Alaska. It's a little overcast today, but we are slowly going through our springtime and melting the snow, which is exciting. I work with our DMO is called Visit Anchorage. We are located obviously in Anchorage, Alaska. We do sales support, travel agent assistance, and building essentially tourism in the South Central region of Alaska, which for us encompasses not only Anchorage, but the greater municipality, which is actually about the size of Delaware. So it's quite a large geographical area. We also do some training that goes as far south as Seward and as far north as Talkeetna. So what I do in a normal year and what our department does, because we're a staff of 6 people that work with travel trade exclusively, is travel to the different shows that are out there. We do a lot of travel agent trainings, both via webinar that we do twice a month, a live webinar. We also have a static training, and we've just about to unveil a brand new format for that, which is exciting. And then we do actual in-person trainings all over the country. So we work with tour operators to educate them on the destination. And then a lot of travel advisor trainings, shows, assistance, referral, all that kind of information. So in a nutshell, that's me in a typical year.
So this year it's a little not so typical.
Not so typical.
I know we've been all waiting, trying to figure out what's going on because a lot of us, I guess most of the agents here in the group, when they sell Alaska, it's mostly a cruise, maybe a cruise tour. And of course, the cruise industry has been affected by the Canadian authorities, which said that cruise ships over 500 people will not be able to get into any of their ports, which limits our options. And a lot of cruise lines have already declared that up until July 1st, there aren't going to be any cruises. Do you know of any updates, something regarding
right, that particular order? I have been, I'm sure as all of you guys have been, trying to keep my finger on the pulse of what's happening with that. I think currently there has been no, I mean, what Alaska has been trying and really working towards since the minute that declaration was made is to try and find a workaround. Because as you know, the Passenger Vessel Act, I think it's called, that's a component of, of course, it just came and went out of my head. What is it called? The Jones Act, I believe, right?
Act.
Which is,
yeah, foreign port.
Exactly. So everyone's been scrambling, talking to our delegation, like, can we get some sort of a waiver? Can you get some sort of workaround so that we can depart from a U.S. destination and it can actually disembark in a U.S. destination? To my knowledge, that nothing has been declared at this point. If I was going to offer a guess, my feeling is there's just not enough time to actually get some level of legislation through that will ultimately affect the 2020 season. That's my gut, Ruth talking, not Ruth from Visit Anchorage talking, but that's my gut feeling at this point. However, we've seen a lot of extraordinary things change and go fast. So, who's to say?
Is there a date that the Alaska government or tourism board think this is the date where they'll have to make a decision whether we continue as a regular season or something else?
Again, I have been trying. I mean, I think in all of Alaska, everybody is waiting for one person to just say, like, this is going to be the date, right? Like, either it is or it isn't, that kind of thing. And of course, there's been nobody that has stepped forward and said this is the date. So, just to back up for a minute and kind of talk about what Alaska tourism is. Obviously, you guys are really familiar with the cruise industry and what that looks like in Alaska when the season starts and what you can do as far as excursions and the different communities and all that kind of stuff. Most of you are very familiar with that. But there is a whole nother section of tourism in Alaska that is smaller, that's more local tour operator, kind of day tour things. And those folks are all, I think at this point, really just moving forward and hoping that, like a mid-June date will unfold and they'll be able to have a season as normal, or at least some degree of season as normal. With the cruise companies, because there's so much involved, there's so much infrastructure, there's so much just money. I'm sure they're all sequestered in a boardroom somewhere wondering how they're going to make it happen. Because one half of me says, there's a lot of money riding on this, right? They have all kinds of boats and all kinds of bookings that they're not very excited to let slip out of their fingers for 2020. But with that said, nobody's coming forward and making a pronouncement as to what they're going to do either. And as far as I understand it, so you could tell me too, Roy, if you've heard anything, or you guys out there have heard anything from any of the cruise companies that is any kind of declaration as to the beginning of their season in Alaska.
I've tried reaching out to some celebrity and princess to figure out if they are going to do they're doing the cruise tour, the combination of a cruise and land, and we're trying to figure out if they will do maybe just a land portion. We haven't got any answers. I don't know if they can, if they are interested in. Is it? Mm-hmm. I really. We're trying to push to get some information. I'm sure, as you said, they're not ready to throw in the towel and say, we're done with this season. Mm-hmm. But I'm also seeing a lot of people just cancel because the uncertainty, and it's quite of a big trip, and no one wants to wait until the last minute to start mm-hmm. planning and getting it in maybe more payments, more mm-hmm. full payments, and everything is becoming
up in the air.
Yeah. And again, Anchorage is the largest metropolitan area in Alaska, correct?
It is correct, yes.
But what do you think is going to happen in the maybe the smaller? I know more of the smaller mm-hmm. cities around. They rely on outside tourism quite a bit.
Mm-hmm. Yes, they do. And I was mentioning to you earlier, Roy, that I was on a conference call with some of the state of Alaska board directors. Like, we have our own trade association, and they were doing a webinar kind of talking about their own individual businesses and what they knew about what the summer was going to look like for them. And everybody, as of the 1st of March, was running anywhere from 8 to like 15% ahead of last year, right? We had the biggest year in tourism we've ever seen last year in 2019. So everything was going along at a really steady clip up until that first week in March. And then literally everything dropped out. And at this point, just to kind of round back to what you were saying, like what is going to be open, what is Alaska tourism going to look like this summer? There will be tourism. I'm absolutely positive of that. I think it will be, as we had mentioned, we had talked earlier too, that it's going to be very local. There's going to be a lot of promotion to our local audiences to get out and see your own state and visit and explore new areas. And it's going to be mainly land focused. So I also think right now all the smaller operators are scrambling to come up with good protocols in terms of how many people do you put on a bus, how many people do you put in a train car, how many people do you put on a day boat cruise, that sort of thing. And I see it being all those things operating, but on a much less crowded situation. You know, like you won't be on a motor coach with 45 people, you'll be on a motor coach with maybe 20 people, and depending on what it is we're talking about. So how that relates to your audience and travel agents, and you know, looking at Alaska this summer, I think it always goes back to knowing your client, being able to really qualify what your client wants. Cruising, of course, is a nice way to get to Alaska because it's very easy, it's very comfortable. What we say in my job is that an Alaska cruise is a beautiful cruise. It's one of the best cruises in the world because what you look out the window and see is absolutely breathtaking. But it's a cruise. And if you want to come to Alaska, then you need to add land because really you don't get the feeling of this beautiful place and the people and the culture until you get off the cruise ship and you actually interact with us, locals.
Right.
So
to me, Alaska, when
that will happen.
Yeah, it seems like a perfect place to maybe get away from all the crowd, especially if there's not going to be so many cruise ships around.
You know, and that's a really good point. We have talked about that as well, where you know, you see a lot of the trends being Wyoming, Montana, places with wide open spaces and very few people. And that is for sure Alaska. And so I think for us on the land side, I do think that will be a popular option for people. And I guess kind of that was where I was leading to before, is that there are many opportunities for doing land. And we at Visit Anchorage can provide you referrals to those tour companies that you can book through. If you're looking to like shift someone to that type of an itinerary, we can absolutely help you. That's what we're here for. That's what we have a big, robust department for. But on top of that, it's going to be airline connectivity as well. And that is, again, still kind of a question mark. So I think it's really going to depend, again, on you qualifying your customer. If they're, you know, interested in that type of a trip, great. How much time do they have? How much flexibility do they have? Because again, this is Ruth speaking with like my gut feeling that we're not going to see the same air schedule that we've seen in past years this summer. With that said, there will be airlift for sure. Whether you airlift into Anchorage and you have to do a 14-day quarantine, that I don't know. And that could play a very big role in our land tour, our operations here in the summer too. And I feel like by the end of this month, we will have so much more information about all of those things come the 1st of May. And I think that's nationwide, honestly, and all of that's going to affect what we're doing here too.
So if I have clients that are looking for domestic trip, they don't want to leave the country, they're afraid of what's going on in other countries, they are looking for a place where it's not that crowded, not a lot of people, nature, they automatically maybe think about, you know, the parks, you know, the national parks and you know, maybe California, Nevada, and then Alaska. How do we train? Where do we learn more? Because again, as you said, cruise is like an intro to Alaska, but it's also quite easy for agents to book. It's you know, it's a cruise. They know how to do it. They just add excursions. The trip is already set. How do we approach a land-based trip with Alaska?
Right. So my first recommendation is doing our training. It's an hour training. Like I said, we do a live webinar once every other week, twice a month, We also will do any kind of special training. You know, we find ourselves with a little more time to do training now, so we can do special trainings for your particular agency, for example, or if you have like a group like this that you want to just put some folks together and do a training, we are happy to do that. But that is, I think, a good place to start, because it gives our training is really more focused on the land portion, right? Obviously, since we're in Anchorage, we do South Central Alaska. So that helps. In addition, you know, we have so many resources for travel trade. And so all of that can help. And like I said, I think right now is a great time to brush up all your skills, like learn a little bit more about Alaska, because we might become the recovery destination. You never know, right? So, you know, taking opportunity to learn a little bit more. And I actually took the liberty. Oh, I don't know if you can see this or not. Let's see.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh.
I put my email and our website on here, so that if anybody wants to learn more, this is where. Sorry, it's travel trade, and I can't get it the right way. Anyway, so you can contact me if you have questions. You can go online if you have questions. But I think that's really the first step in learning more about land and getting an idea of how best to book it.
And an agent was saying that, let me see, who was it? Oh, Becky was saying that her clients canceled a land-only FIT because there are no trains running in June. So I'm assuming they canceled because there's not enough demand, because most of the tourists, they come from cruise ships. So I guess they have to figure that out. If we want to send people land-based, there's need to be enough demand for it, I guess, right? To have some of the options open.
Mm-hmm.
Although the nature is always open.
I'm sorry, say that again.
I said the nature is always open, but yeah, they need some transportation to get to places.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I think again, it kind of goes back to where I was saying that, you know, Alaska really is built. I mean, the tourism industry is built on the backs of small business, but the big businesses such as the Alaska Railroad, the cruise companies, those big hotels are really built and designed to move mass amounts of people, which is what comes off the cruise ships, right? So that's why the Alaska Railroad chose to move their start date to July 1, because they do a lot of transfer for folks that come off of ships, right? With that said, and because of the closure of the Canadian ports, that also weighed into their decision, and they're trying to be proactive so that people can make plans accordingly. So I know it's disappointing when you have folks scheduled in June and they have to cancel because of that. I know it's, trust me, the Alaska Railroad feels it very deeply. So they're not making these decisions lightly.
But they're no right now, because they just have to hopefully push for July of August or cancel. They don't have an alternative right now.
Well, you do have alternatives. That's what I was kind of getting to, is that there's many small tour companies that operate like smaller kind of 15 passenger vans, for example. We have multiple operators that do that type of touring. You can do a fly drive itinerary as well. There's different tour operators that can completely package everything together, which would be rental car, hotel activities that a travel agent can book into and still get commission level from them, where that's still a very simple booking for them and still a money-making endeavor. And pushing them outside of these mass modes of transportation like the railroad. And that's, again, kind of just to reiterate that's what we can assist with, because we have a full roster of different types of businesses that can operate a land tour for folks in a commissionable environment. So you're not just, doing it for nothing. Obviously, that's not what we're all working towards at all. But there's many opportunities to get outside of that, just that funnel of kind of normal operations of cruise and cruise transfers and that type of thing. So yeah, I would invite anybody that's interested in trying to reschedule into something like that to contact me, and we will give you, we can get you hooked up with somebody that likely can put that together for you before July 1.
And I will post the email and the web address that you had, because I see a few people were asking for it again, but I'll make sure to add it to the post so everyone it'll be
Awesome.
easier to access.
Okay.
I'm trying to see if we have any specific questions. Um, the training website, is it just for Alaska in general, or specifically for Visit Anchorage, or both?
So our training that we do at Visit Anchorage is Anchorage and South Central. So again, it goes as far north as Talkeetna, as far south as Seward, Alaska. And I can provide you with some resources on additional DMOs, like for example, our colleagues at Explore Fairbanks they do assistance for travel trade from Denali to Fairbanks and into the Arctic. The state of Alaska has its own training program as well, because again, most people I think don't realize how much of Alaska there is. We're 1/5 the size of the continental United States. So if you want to do training on the whole state of Alaska, which is pretty fascinating in and of itself, it's a much bigger process. But the state of Alaska does have a training module that they do, which is fun actually to take, because it does really delve into all the different national and state parks we have in Alaska and all these different regions that most people are not familiar with. So that's another good opportunity to train too. So I can provide that to you after the fact, so you can give that information to anybody that's interested.
Perfect. I see Teresa is saying that she had clients that were scheduled to do a land tour end of May, and they want to keep it. They want to go. They decided to remove Denali from their itinerary because it's
Okay,
the uncertainty, but they are going. So
nice.
Alaska is amazing. I posted the picture, when we just the cover page. I had the pleasure of being in Alaska for the first time last year in September. It's amazing. It's definitely a place to go back again and again. I did a cruise, but I agree. A cruise is just a small taste. You get a little bit of feel for it, but you have to come back again, and you have to actually, it was gorgeous to see some of the glaciers from the ship, from the
Yeah.
balcony, but it's
Mhm.
when you're actually walking and you're actually seeing and experiencing, and the animals, is just, yeah. Consider, if you can,
It
if your
is.
if your clients are willing to consider switching, changing.
Yeah.
Um, but there are also a few we've talked before. Again, it's not an Anchorage specifically, but there are still a couple of cruise lines that are still going. The ones that have
Mhm.
under 500 cabins.
Mhm. Yeah.
Um, so still maybe to combine that one with land. I think
Mhm.
you said that they're doing round trip from Juneau, which you can't
Mhm.
combine an actual land. You'll have to fly from there.
Mhm.
Um, it's still an option, and I assume still helps the state of Alaska.
Yes.
So someone is asking, how many days would you suggest to be in Anchorage?
Um, so again, this kind of goes back to what we do in our training. We do talk a lot about Anchorage being kind of a hub and spoke type of a destination. So you can use Anchorage because we have the largest concentration of lodging properties, for example, and the largest variety of lodging in terms of cost. So a lot of, we talk a lot about trying to find that perfect lodging property for your customer, for your client, in terms of their budget, and then using it as a jumping off spot to go do a lot of different, really iconic Alaska experiences. So you could do as little as 2 nights, and I would say easily with as many as like 5. Because there's that much to do. There really is that much to do in our area. We're really kind of blessed in terms of where we're located, in that I like to say this a lot, that I live 5 minutes from Alaska, right? I live in town. I have a grocery store down the street. I live like most of you live, but what's nice for me is that I can drive 20 minutes up into the mountains and I'm hiking in pristine environment. I can drive down the highway 15 minutes and I'm on another trail that's a pristine environment. And I have some of the most world-class views surrounding me all the time. And that's the same for anybody that comes to visit here. So, you can go north and south. That's why we kind of focus on Talkeetna to Seward, because all of that is easily done in a day in Alaska, or sorry, let me back up. That is easily done in a day from Anchorage. And all of those offer entirely different experiences, because Seward, for example, is coastal, right? So you get that very much sea town. If you've done an Alaska cruise, you know what that feels like when you get off the ship in Juneau, for example, and it feels very coastal, and there's the crazy mountains that come out of nowhere, and the birds and the whales and all that sort of thing. And that's Seward. That's Seward, Alaska. So you can experience that in Seward. And then you go up to Talkeetna, and Talkeetna has like some of the best views of Denali in all of Alaska because of where they're located, and have flight seeing tours that do flight seeing around Denali National Park and around the mountain. So you can literally do everything that you probably had in your mind about doing in Alaska within Anchorage, or within Anchorage and maybe a couple nights in Talkeetna and a couple nights in Seward. So you can really get a full, I always use that word iconic, because people come to Alaska for mountains, glaciers, and wildlife. And all of that is easily accessible with Anchorage as a hub or within that South Central region. So if I could leave one thing with everybody that's on this call today, is exactly that. You can come to Anchorage, and I can guarantee, and that's a strong word, right? But I can guarantee that they will have incredible Alaska experiences being based in Anchorage. So it just depends on how much time and budget, and then we can go as big or as little as you want to go.
We have a question about continuing about Anchorage. Do you have any breweries or wineries?
Oh my God, yes. That is, yeah, that's another thing we're really blessed with. I think one of the hidden amazing things about our destination, and when I say that, I mean Anchorage, because we do all of South Central, but really truly in Anchorage, is our culinary and our brewery scene. We have, so the size of we in Anchorage are about 330,000 people in the municipality. So we're a fairly mid-sized city. We have 12 breweries in Anchorage, almost all of them with a tasting room. Some of them have full-on kind of dining plus beverage, type of scenario. But we also have a really robust culinary scene, and a lot of really local, independently operated restaurants, which I think a lot of people find surprising. If anybody out there has been here with us, they've probably gone on a few delicious meals with us. We do that a lot, of course. Anyway, so yeah, there's a lot. We actually have a tour operator that does brewery tours. So, there's quite a bit of that in Alaska. So if you're a beer person, Anchorage is a good place to be. Or cider too. We have cider.
It seems like Becky, your question, she's asking a specific regarding polar bear experience. I would suggest you reach out to Ruth. Again, I'll publicize the email, and you could see if there's if she can maybe connect you with a specific supplier, if that option exists, to see how.
Just to kind of segue on the polar bear for a minute. The polar bear season in Alaska is very short. It's about 3 weeks of time in September typically, and it's up at the very far north of the state, and it's typically pretty expensive. So, but I'm happy to connect you.
She did say that she was trying a couple of companies, but maybe there are some preferred or some that you are aware of, or maybe you can help her with the introduction. But we'll give it a try. We'll see. Yeah. We're here to help. That's the whole.
Exactly.
And you're getting lots of love personally, and Alaska as well, of course. Everyone is loving the land, loving the food, loving everything about Alaska. It is a quite an impressive state. I love that when you go there, you actually learn so much. You spend the time and just educating yourself about the state and the history, and it's great place for Northern Lights. When can we get? When's the best time to hopefully see Northern Lights in Alaska?
Right. Northern Lights are, so one thing first to know is that you can see when the Northern Lights are out, you can pretty much see them throughout the whole state. So you don't necessarily have to see one specific place or another for Northern Lights viewing. We have actually an area that a lot of our Northern Lights tours go to that's about 40 minutes outside of Anchorage, just to get away from the city lights. So Northern Lights season in Alaska starts the end of August and goes until roughly the end of April. So we're right at the tail end right now of our Northern Lights season, being in mid-April. The reason being is we need a dark night sky to see them. And we are right now, it's getting dark in Alaska about, by the end of this week, it'll probably be closer to 10:30 at night when we actually get a dark night sky. So, and right now we're in this period of gaining daylight that every week we have about 30 to 40 minutes more daylight each week. And so as we creep to the end of April, we'll have a little too much daylight to see Northern Lights. But flip side is that at the end of August is really when it starts. So for a lot of folks that want to come on a summer trip, coming towards the end of our summer season, which is, like I said, the end of August through the first 2 to 3 weeks of September, is great Northern Lights viewing time. So, but I also do make the little caveat though, if you have clients that are interested in Northern Lights viewing, and that's like their number one thing that they have to do, like it's a bucket list and they will not like live unless they've seen the Northern Lights, I always recommend that you send them to Fairbanks. The reason being is Fairbanks, in terms of location, is in the most optimum spot in Alaska to see them. As I was saying, when we see Northern Lights in Anchorage, typically they have incredible displays in Fairbanks. Like we have incredible displays here, but because of where they're located, they get it like literally right above them. We get them in like kind of in the sky, sort of at maybe a 45-degree angle because of just being that much further south. So if you guys are interested in that or have clients that are just have to go and they have to see the Northern Lights, let me know, and I'm happy to put you in touch with our contacts up in Fairbanks for complete packages around it. But one thing too, I also mentioned is, Iceland got all the love around Northern Lights. They were very smart and they started to market it, right? And now it's really a top destination for Northern Lights viewing. We tend to be better and we tend to be cheaper, and you don't have funny food and you don't have funny language and you don't have to change your money. Win-win-win.
It is local, and of course we all know we are trying to support the local economy. So yeah, again, people might be afraid. Maybe they can't renew their passports. We have issues. Just remember, assuming there are going to be direct flights or flights through Seattle, or you won't need a passport. We are. I think it's an amazing destination. It doesn't feel like anything else. It's not.
Right.
You feel like you're in a totally different country, a different place, different time, everything. So it really made an impression on me. So yeah, Alaska is definitely on my plans to go again. So Ruth, I would really like to thank you for the time. Is there anything else that you would like to mention to our agents? Things that they should do now, spend the time, educate?
Yeah, well, all those things. Again, just to reiterate that, we have a staff of 6 people that are eager to help you. And we have trainings. We do offer fan trips. I'm not sure this year how the fans will actually operate this year, just because it's an off year, obviously. But the trainings equal FAM opportunities. So we love when we get to host all of you guys to come up and actually experience land firsthand. So again, the website and the email that Roy will share with you, I recommend, just keeping that in your files and getting in touch with us anytime you need any assistance around Alaska.
Perfect. When Ruth heard about the program and what we're doing right now, she just jumps in. I really want to be in front of the agents. So thank you very much for your time, for what you're doing for the trade, and hopefully we'll be able to see you when we're in Anchorage. Hopefully soon. If not, we'll send our clients definitely.
Thank
So
you.
thank you. Have an amazing week, and we'll be in
Thanks.
touch. Thank
Okay.
you. Bye.